Hollywood is buzzing about those Oscar winners, and so are we. We're going to talk about what we thought about this year's Oscars, and then we get to our case, which involves putting your kids out on social media. Is it okay to do? Is it morally wrong? We'll get into it. Stay tuned for our verdicts. What you are listening to is real. The parties involved are not cool. They are actual geeks with a case pending in the court of public opinion. The party's case has been dismissed, and the dispute will be settled here on our podcast. There will be no lawyers. There will be no witness testimony. The judge's decisions are final.
Hello, I'm Judge Ivan.
I'm Judge Jonathan, and this is Geeks on Trial. Today's case, chip off the old TikTok.
Welcome to Geeks on Trial. This is the podcast where we settle petty disputes between actual geeks over movies, video games, board games, and more. If you'd like to submit your own geeky case for a future episode, you can email us at geeksontrile@gmail.com. You can also support the show over at patreon.com/geeksontrial for just $5 a month, where you can gain early access to our audio and video episodes, plus our bonus show, Geeks on Trial Sidebar.
Yeah, last week our episode was about... Why you always got to interrupt me? You got to say the name twice. They didn't hear it.
You didn't start?
Once wasn't enough?
I wasn't done.
You were done.
I wasn't done.
We both know that you were done.
Geeks on Trial Sidebar.
This last week's episode, we talked about our secret hidden talents.
Yes.
Our secret hidden talents. And they're going to stay secret unless you pony up the dough. Oh, man. This past weekend was a lot of things.
Okay.
You know, like sometimes it's a slow week. Mm-hmm. All in the same day, we had Daylight Saving Time began, mm-hmm. the Oscars,
right,
and Mario Day.
Oh, how are the Oscars?
The Oscars, they're all right. The Grouch, mm-hmm. Wild. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good Oscars. Bluth, mm-hmm. George. That's yep. George Oscar.
Oscar
oh,
from The Office.
Bluth as well. Sure, Oscar from The Office. Pistorius? Is that an Oscar?
Sure.
Okay. Then, of course, there's the Academy Awards, which this year was the 90-something. I'm not keeping track. Right? Are they still in the 90s? Did they get out of the 90s
Did
yet?
We hit 100? Are we going backwards?
I don't think they've hit 100 yet. But it was the 2024 Academy Awards. Now, of course, a few months back, we talked about all the nominees and our kind of predictions and who we thought maybe should win. But now we know for sure the ceremony happened. Everyone's abuzz in Hollywood and Tinseltown alike.
Yes.
The glitz, the glamour, the actors, the actresses, the dresses, the red carpet. It all happened.
The Oscars started in 1929. So somebody do the math.
Wow.
I'm not doing it.
Wow. I mean, I'm pretty sure if you just Google Oscars, like the first thing will tell you which number it is, won't it?
And
96th.
And I wonder if we missed a year for anything, or, did we not have an
I don't
Oscars
think so.
During the war?
No, listen, no matter what is going on in the world, there must always be shiny trophies given out to very rich, famous, attractive people. You can't miss that window of opportunity. You only get it a few dozen times a year.
I bet you any money you can head to like a thrift shop in Hollywood and buy like one of the first Oscars. I'm sure somebody sold that shit.
I mean, they give out a lot of them. I mean, not that many, but you think like if one, I don't know. Actually, I don't know if a movie wins Best Picture, like the producers all get one, but there's only like usually 3 or 4 of those maybe.
Right.
It's not like the gaffer's not getting an Oscar.
Right, which is kind of crappy. And like, but they do have like do they have like the other Oscars for like the behind the scenes stuff that's not
the daytime Oscars?
Like something like, yeah, or like the science Oscars or whatever they call those.
I think there's only the one Oscars.
So
but I bet
Oscar.
I bet maybe if you're on the crew of a movie, you get like a certificate or something. Maybe you don't get the statue. Yeah, you got to get a recognition, like a little something.
Or like, a pay bump. That would be nice. Money would be good.
They should just give you a check. Anyway, the Oscars happened. Neither of us watched them, but we did. I saw some clips, and we know who the winners are.
Right.
The big, just to sum it up, I'm sure folks probably know, or if you don't, we'll give you your daily juice here.
Also, if you still want to watch it, spoiler alert. Just an FYI. We're spoiling
Spoilers.
the Academy Awards right now for each and every one of you.
Sure. The big winner was Oppenheimer. It basically swept the awards, got Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, and Best Supporting Actor, Best Cinematography, Best Editing, and Best Score, I believe, are all the Oppenheimer awards. It's a lot of awards.
Right. Well, it was a lot of movie. It was a lot of movie. You expect a 3.5 hour movie to get 3 hour, whatever, to get a lot of awards.
Unless you're Martin Scorsese, because Killers of the Flower Moon did not get anything.
Because I think that's like a running joke now. He just doesn't.
Please let me finish.
No.
Maestro didn't get anything. Poor Things. Emma Stone got Best Actress. For Holdovers, they got Best Supporting Actress. Barbie won Best Song, but not for I'm Just Ken. It was a different song. And Boy and the Heron took Best Animated. Zone of Interest got Best International Film. This is off the top of my head, so you should be really impressed right now. Anatomy of...
No, you don't
you should
impress
be,
me
though.
ever.
That's what I'm saying.
Nothing impresses me about you.
Okay, so I'm Brad Pitt.
Yes.
Don't impress you much? Anatomy of a Fall. Okay, so you know all the 2024 Oscar winners. You know what? That does impress me. Anatomy of a Fall got Best Screenplay Adapted, and American Fiction got Best Original, or maybe I reversed those. They took the script awards.
You were impressing me, and then this little it's not impressing me much.
So I think a lot of these line up with what we kind of thought. Oh, Robert Downey Jr. also got Best Supporting Actor for Oppenheimer. I know for you, Oppenheimer was your favorite movie of the year, so this lines up pretty well for you.
Honestly, that my not second favorite, but my top movie. They all won awards. Like Poor Things got an award, which I was actually surprised about because it is very art housey. It has a big cast, everything with it, but it's a weird movie. It's an art housey movie. But I feel like you have to throw something like that in the Oscars every year.
Sure, you don't have to, but they did. It also got Best Costume Design, I believe. So well deserved, I think. I think Emma Stone definitely deserved that award. I have to say, I understand Oppenheimer. I don't necessarily personally agree with it, but I'm fine with Oppenheimer winning director and picture.
Right.
I don't feel like Cillian Murphy or Robert Downey Jr. deserved their Oscar for actors. I think they were both good and fine in that movie,
but
I think they were better.
Them, like not like
especially Robert Downey Jr. Like I think that award that's a political, like, we recognize you haven't won an Oscar before. This is your time for an Oscar.
Right.
Now.
This is the first time. It's not a Marvel movie. It's not what here's a big movie for you. Here's your pity award. But yeah, you're right. I do think I definitely think who was it? Willem Dafoe. Like
he was not nominated.
He wasn't nominated. But
Mark Ruffalo, I think he should have won Best Supporting.
Okay.
He was nominated for Poor Things.
Well, because
I think he was great.
Anybody from that movie would have been great too, as a supporting actor or actress, and it would have been great. But yeah, nothing anytime a movie like this goes into the Academy Awards, you kind of it's going to win at least half of the things it's nominated for. It's
sometimes.
It's a big money movie. It brought in a lot of money. It made a lot of money. It used a lot of money. So yeah.
So did Barbie, and Barbie only got one award. It didn't get anything else. All it got was Best Song. That was it. So
I still feel Barbie was a great movie, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I feel like it's definitely not. It's up there because it's a comedy. It's a not musical, but it's musically. But that's kind of the stuff like the Oscars usually snub to begin with. So I'm happy it was just in the Academy Awards.
It's an honor just to be nominated sometimes. Right. And they did get to do the song, so that's a lot of fun.
Well, speaking of the song, did you actually see the song clip?
I did.
How much do you think they had to pay Slash to come up on stage and do that?
Probably not much.
Or do you think he was like, okay, Slash is a daughter. Let me do this for my kids.
They probably threw him like we'll feed you for the night. I mean, what's Slash doing these days? He's like, since Conan O'Brien's off the air, I don't get a lot of appearances. Work,
But it's just weird that because I'm assuming he didn't do the guitar for the freaking movie.
No,
that was just some bit player. So it's like they just brought him on because they're like, oh, he's in the audience, he plays guitar. Here you go.
Why not? It's fun.
Now, did Jimmy Kimmel hosted this year? Jimmy Kimmel, the host of the Man Show, is he famously known for the Man Show?
That's right.
And Win Ben Stein's Money. Now, has he hosted multiple times? Like, is he multiple year?
Yeah.
Like, did he host last year?
I honestly don't remember, but I'm pretty sure he's hosted at least once before. Yeah.
But I was thinking about it. I'm okay with that because he is I think they're on ABC this year, so he's an ABC talk show host. So like having somebody just come back and do it every year for whatever network you're on, it just makes more sense because especially having a host it. Because sure, you can have whatever hot actor that year or whoever come on, but like Jimmy Kimmel literally is a host. Like he hosts.
Have they ever had a hot actor host the Oscars? It's always some old. It's always Billy Crystal or it's never Timothy Chalamet. You know?
Yeah, because I guess it would have to be somebody TV related or something that's not going to be signed up for like going to win an Oscar.
They also they can't be nominated for an Oscar.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think the one year where they didn't have a host, they just had different actors from the audience kind of host it, right? Wasn't that like a thing?
I don't know. Yeah, they had like multiple. I think that was kind of a weird year, but yeah, it did happen. Remember when Chris Rock did it?
No.
Oh.
I heard he was a big hit.
Did you know that Robert Downey Jr. this is the first time a former Saturday Night Live cast member has won an Oscar?
Really? I also didn't
one.
Realize he was on SNL.
One season, yeah. He was on it.
There's a few, it might have been that, like there's one or two seasons where like they brought in like celebrities that are already established people from SNL to host. And those are the seasons you can't find streaming anywhere. Like NBC's like, we just put that away.
Yeah.
But the other big thing, I think this is new this year that, it was longer, but because they started at 7:00 our time.
Was it longer? I think it's always about the same, isn't it? Like 3.5 hours usually.
Because it usually starts at 8:00 and it ends like 11.
Correct.
I think this year it was 7 to 11. I'm not entirely sure.
I think usually it ends by midnight from 8.
Really?
Or maybe 11:30.
Or it's supposed to end at 11 and it just kind of goes over, but
I think 3.5 hours is like the standard. I mean, I don't have the run times.
Why not?
Hand,
you don't have
on hand.
The cast list or anything. So there wasn't any, as far as I know, no controversies, no slaps, no weird things.
There was one weird thing.
Was there?
Yes. You didn't hear about the how the best picture was announced?
No. Did another issue happen, or was there?
Well, it was Al Pacino was giving out the best picture award. He didn't read off the nominees.
He just came out and said, Oppenheimer won.
He literally just comes on stage, opens the envelope, and goes, I see Oppenheimer, without saying the nominees.
Which, I mean,
it's
not a huge problem, but
I mean, it kind of sucks if you're a nominee for Best Picture because you didn't get your
right your 15 seconds of
you get.
But it's probably better because what is he, about 300 now? Hearing him read through some of these. I do enjoy when like they'll bring an older actor or like a retired actor out and to like read things, but sometimes it's also very cringy because like, oh, there's a reason why they're not in front of cameras anymore or they need to be scripted. There's like I think it was last year's Academy Award or a couple years ago, they had Liza Minnelli come out and they just kind of pushed her on stage in a wheelchair. And I'm like, this isn't like...
Is she that old? Is she in a wheelchair?
She might just, I just don't think she could walk properly. She has a case of the spins.
That's what it is, just because it's the vertigo.
It's the vertigo.
Here's another milestone for you. Godzilla -1 got Best Visual Effects. First time in history a Godzilla movie has won an Oscar.
Wait, why were there visual effects? That's not a documentary?
Jesus Christ.
That isn't real story? That's not...
Folks, this is the second time I've heard that joke.
And this is your fault to say save it for the show, and I did. I listened to it.
Well, but you didn't save it for the show. You said it again for the show.
So I brought it back for the show. This is why I don't...
You tested the material, it didn't work, and you said, yeah, I'll do that again.
Yeah, let's do that again. Let's try that. I'm actually getting ready to be a host of the Oscars. This is how...
That makes sense. Yeah.
So overall, like, it was just an award show. Nothing, fine. They had some little blip, but like compared to years past or anything weird, the little blip that they had wasn't anything major. It sucked, but it didn't. Nobody got hurt.
It's all right.
Nobody got annoyed. Nobody
got punched in the face.
Which I can't believe that was 2 or 3 years ago at this point now. Like it feels
recent.
like it was the COVID times. It's what happened.
Yeah, I'm glad that like the movies that I really liked, they all got their something. Like Zone of Interest got its international, like Anatomy of a Fall got screenplay. So a lot of the movies that I liked were recognized, even if they didn't take home some of the bigger categories that I was pushing for them. So it was, it was a nice spread. Even though Oppenheimer definitely dominated, it wasn't like nobody else got any love. So.
Now, do you think that's better this year because like you liked more movies this year, or there are more movies that were more aimed towards you that won Best Picture and better awards? Because I know some years it's like it's going to be the big blockbuster movie, but it might not be a great movie. It's just a blockbuster. And I know some years I'm not a huge fan.
Well, usually, I mean, I don't know how you're using the term blockbuster. Like usually it's not the blockbuster. I feel like it's a coincidence that Oppenheimer made a lot of money. Usually it's like, some, I don't know.
It's not like an independent or it's like an unknown movie, but
sure, but it's usually not like one of the top box office grosses of the year. It's a few times recently. Like last year was Everything Everywhere All at Once, so that has been happening. But it's usually like, it's not The Dark Knight. It's not usually Lord of the Rings. Like Lord of the Rings won the third movie, not the first two.
But it's also interesting too because now almost every movie is in that tier of like. Not blockbuster, but has to be
because they don't make the smaller budget movies anymore. Is why
that's the issue, and the
I'm looking it up now. Let's see what were the last like Coda was in 2022.
Oh,
that's
okay.
That's not a big movie.
No,
Nomadland, definitely not a big movie. Parasite, it did well, but not. I wouldn't call it a blockbuster. Moonlight, Green Book, Shape of Water, Birdman.
But you think
these are not?
I would say
I wouldn't call any of
movies
these blockbusters.
Were well known before they were even.
I would think to us, but I think if you ask the average mass audience Joe on the street, what'd you think about Parasite? It's like a foreign movie. I think they would not have seen it
before the Oscars. After it's a
yes, yeah, right, yeah.
Now,
before
do you
it
think
got the buzz?
Oppenheimer will be? They're going to re-release it. Do you think they'll re-release it back in the IMAX because they have all these prints of them still, assuming?
They probably will at some point. I don't know if they're going to do it like right away, but I would assume there'll be, if it might not be like now, but if there's a lull
and there's usually the
schedule.
Tour of the winner usually goes back on tour of.
But I don't know if that's different for IMAX. Like if they have to negotiate because it's a whole other thing and what else.
And it's like there's only X amount of theaters that show it. If there's something, you're right. If there's something big that's supposed to be slated to come out,
because movies will schedule like a year in advance.
Right.
We have these 2 weeks in IMAX theaters or whatever. So yeah, I don't know how that.
Did you see it elsewhere? Like, did you see it after we saw it in IMAX? Because I'm curious to see.
I haven't rewatched it.
I'm curious to see how it is in regular cinema.
I mean, most people in the world saw it in a regular movie theater, so and they seem to like it.
Just 'cause I'm curious of the way they cut it, and because in when we saw it, there was just different aspect ratios, so I'm sure they don't do that in a regular cinema.
No,
they might,
it's all
but,
just one.
Yeah.
They would all just be the one, in a typical theater.
So so a good year for movies, especially after having a rough year with the writer's strike, which they did mention, and they brought Teamsters and background people out on stage and gave them their spotlight. And really good year for movies, even though it could have been an awful year. I am interested to see.
Well, that's going to be this year, maybe.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, what is it going to be next year? It's like, oh, okay, Minions is up for an Oscar. Great, something like that.
I think we'll have some good ones this year.
Speaking of animation, I am super happy that Boy and Heron, whatever it's called, won that.
Rub it in.
Won the Oscar. I love that movie.
Me too. I did love that movie. I just liked Spider-Verse, but I'm fine with it because I'm waiting for Spider-Verse 3, and I think there won't be a Miyazaki movie that year.
But I definitely think a Miyazaki movie would trump any mass-produced. I mean, yes, a Miyazaki movie is a mass-produced, movie, but that Miyazaki films are like, they're more artsy than like a Spider-Man movie or a typical animated thing. It's more
Oscar-y in the traditional sense,
right.
But for me, Boy and the Heron, I was great, but I just think there wasn't a lot there that I haven't seen in 5 other Miyazaki movies. Like, I don't think he was breaking any new ground for himself. Whereas to me, Spider-Verse, in terms of the animation achievements, was truly groundbreaking and exciting stuff. But it's fine. I get it. Like
Right.
it's probably his last movie. It's a great movie. I get it.
And a Marvel movie, it's going to win something again at some point, and they have in the past.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, that's why I'm like, because usually, like in a normal year for animation, usually most animated movies are bad. Like it usually
that's the
just
thing.
goes to whatever Pixar movie because there's like not much else. So this was like one of the rare years where there was actually multiple movies that deserved to be winners.
Right. That were decent and done actually well, and it wasn't just your traditional animation stuff,
Yeah, so I'm excited. Hopefully, I'm just hoping the next Spider-Verse movie doesn't take another 3 years because I would like to see it, but we'll see what happens when it comes out that year. Anyway, exciting stuff. Those are the Oscars. And, just like the Academy voters, we're going to have to also judge things today.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're wearing these get-ups.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah.
This is just what I wear. This is my clothing. This is my outfit. I don't know what you're talking about.
Today's case comes to us from the internet. You can find a link in our episode description. Our defendant today is Connor. Connor is a husband and father of 3 kids, aged 13, 7, and 4. His wife, Zoe, runs a successful social media account on TikTok and Instagram about her everyday life. Zoe wants to include their 3 kids in her videos, but Connor doesn't think that they're old enough to be able to consent to putting themselves online in that way. Zoe argues that in today's modern age, having such an online presence is not a big deal, and that by featuring them in their videos, the account's popularity will take off, it will grow, therefore getting them more money to put towards their college funds or other future endeavors. She also says that she would check in with the whole family before posting any videos, but Connor is still having doubts. As dual judges here on Geeks on Trial, it's now our job to determine whether Zoe is being too showy or if Connor's honor should not be put upon her.
I like that. That was good. I enjoyed that one. It was thought out.
Don't think about the second half too hard because it actually doesn't make any sense, but I liked the rhymes.
Say it. Give it to me again. What was it?
No, you said you liked it. You said it was well thought out, so we're going to go with that. We're going to move on from that.
You shouldn't have brought it up anything. Now I'm going to rewatch it in editing and just...
I don't believe you will. So it's another social media technology case this time around. So we're judging people on the the modern internet trends and how these things affect our everyday lives.
Modern. I think TikTok's been out for what, like 34 years now?
Well, it's still out. It's still modern.
Okay, I guess you didn't say new. It's just modern. Yeah, okay.
That's right.
So this has always been a topic that, like,
not always. Only since TikTok.
See, this is why
see how it feels?
This is why I have a stress ball, because I'm like, okay.
Oh, it's a basketball?
It was free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Feels dishonest.
What's it say? Well, this is even weirder. It's a basketball that says T-Mobile on it. They're not a basketball company. They just went with what is the cheapest thing we could make. We'll put T-Mobile's logo on a basketball. Yeah.
The T-Mobile basketball.
The T-Mobile basketball, Anyway, so...
Blur that out. We don't want to give them any...
Unless T-Mobile wants to give us money or even pay my cell phone bill for a month. That'd be great. Thank you for T-Mobile. So going through TikTok and stuff, I'll lay in bed, I'll go through TikTok, and there will be certain things that, like, will pop off in my head when I see, like, people who are underage on TikTok. There isn't a... Now, come on. Now, there isn't
You're the one who says you're watching the underage TikToks, not me.
There isn't, like, a age restriction, I don't believe, for TikTok, unless there is, like, it to be 16.
No, there's got to be there must at least be a 13 cutoff to sign up for TikTok. I mean, I don't know how much it's policed.
Right, like, what do you do? Show your ID? And it's like,
but that's every website technically has some kind of like, even Twitter, I think you got to be 13 to make a Twitter account.
So it always is weird to me when I see somebody making videos with their child, even like a newborn or whatever. Using their child to make money, because back in the day that was a thing that, like, parents would do with actors. Like, there had to be certain guidelines put into place where it's like you have to promise that some of this money is going to your child. Now, necessarily they're not acting, but they are, influencing in a sense, because they are just being there and being a baby, or if they're, you know, they're being the adorable
Being a
part of your
baby.
video, just being a baby, just, you know, doing what TikTokers do best, being a baby. So I
Well,
always
I
get like,
haven't.
it always gets weird to me when it's like I see like family TikToks on a thing, or like people selling stuff using their child. But good.
I've just never heard of child actors having it turning out in any way that's not 100% normal and, you know, perfectly well adjusted in today's society.
Right.
Are there
So
any instances of that?
I think he just won an Oscar recently. I don't
Oh,
know.
oh, Killian?
Yep. Miyazaki.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I never thought about it that way, but that is, you know, in the same way that a lot of people who traditionally would have gone into film and television, now they just do YouTube and TikTok.
Right.
I guess it's kind of the same thing for child actors or parents wanting to abuse their children.
Because, you know, the big thing in the film industry, we recently just saw it with, you know, there's unions, there's strict rules, you know, a lot of other shady stuff that goes on, but there are strict rules with, you know, how often a child could be on camera with TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, podcasts, all that. It's the Wild West. There's no unions. There's no real rules. Yes, if you have a video on YouTube, you have to, you know, say if there's kid stuff in it, and you can't advertise towards children and some of that stuff. But there's nothing saying that this child that's in the YouTube video wasn't in this YouTube video under hot lights for 45 hours, hasn't slept. You know, like there's no, like that's the kind of stuff like I think about, because like that is some of my background. Like you know, taking film
children.
classes. Right. And I love film, and I love children in film.
The tricky thing here, moving on, the tricky thing is the transition of social media to a monetary platform.
Right.
Because think about Instagram. Initially, think about it. Just think about it. Initially, all Instagram was, if a mom is posting pictures of her kids for her family,
right?
Then that becomes a mom posting pictures of her kids for her friends. Right. Then that becomes posting pictures for strangers, and then it becomes posting pictures for money.
Right.
And now it's a very complicated thing because you can no longer extricate it from that factor. You must, like, having an Instagram account is no longer just a thing you do for fun. It's a job. Right. You're trying to have a job. Like if you start, the people who do these things, these, you know, influencers, they're doing this for money, and it's like I must make, to be successful, my kids got to have 10 videos a week.
Right.
We got to film this many. We got to capitalize on this trend.
We have to make sure they are playing with this Lego and not this toy, you know, be changing how they be a child, basically.
Are there any specific families or these types of accounts that you see that you can think of, or is it just a general? It's
a general thing, because usually like that's not my algorithm. That's kind of stuff that like I skip by. But there is, I forgot who he is, but they have a toy line in like Walmart and stuff. He has a YouTube channel of like where he reviews. It's a child reviewing toys on YouTube, and it's like, oh, that child now, his face is all over products inside Walmart selling toys, and it's like in 10 years or more, like when he's 18, you know, is he going to be okay with that? You know, oh, you're the kid from YouTube, hey, you know, you get backlash, you could be positive, it could be positive, you know, that money could be going towards him, or his parents could have been jerks. Like with child actors, we've seen this for years. Maybe not necessarily an actor, but like it's that kind of thing. And you're right, because when all these social medias, Facebook, MySpace, all of these things started, it was just a place for people to share photos, share life. But there really isn't a social media out there right now that you can't monetize your life.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. It's a very weird thing. And it's why you see a lot of these influencers get burned out and messed up, because they are monetizing their lives, as you said.
And it's also kind of like, you know, as two people who started on YouTube to just make content, as in like, you know, scripted things, funny things, it's kind of hard now, because it's like people who are in the industry, which is we kind of were, get pushed aside because now
Sure.
it's like
We can lie and say
loose
that.
term. People who are trying to make content for the content's sake got pushed aside because like, oh, this mom is showing her, feeding a baby and now she's making money. It's a weird situation that got like taken over.
Well, that's the whole internet. I mean, it used to be just everything was free. Nobody ever thought about making money on the internet. In the early 2000s, you look at video games.
Okay.
Look at GameFAQs.
Okay.
There were hundreds of walkthroughs for video games, pages long, pages and pages of content that people spend hours and hours writing and put it up there just for free. That's it. Go ahead and read it. Now, no one would ever do that.
No.
You post it on YouTube and you get ads. Like you would never just. Why would you ever make something on the internet without the possibility of a Patreon or ads or donations or something? Nobody would do it.
Well, think about bringing it back to our world. We were on YouTube year one that it started. We were making content before YouTube.
We were on Google
was YouTube.
Video.
Right. We were hosting our own stuff and putting out money.
10 years old.
We didn't think that we were going to ever be making a profit from it because you didn't.
Well, because the idea, and clearly this didn't work out, but I think like, I don't know that this wasn't like specifically our idea, but the general trajectory of it used to be, oh, well, from there, some guy will see it and be like, hey, put that kid on a TV show. Like the internet was not, nobody thought the internet could be a career. It was a place to start and then transition to something else.
Well, and think about it this way. There's major companies. There's actually a pretty big news story right now. I don't know if you know the company Rooster Teeth. They used to do Red versus Blue or whatever that show was called. They've been on the internet for 21 years, and now they were sold to Discovery Warner or Warner Brothers, one of the companies, and now they're being closed down. And I think we are in a place right now where we are seeing that kind of stuff, where we're seeing these influencers, these YouTubers, these private content creators that were purchased by people because it was the cool thing for Warner Brothers to do is, let's buy these people and basically have it be a stock for down the road. It might be a thing. We're going to start seeing them go away because, there's other issues going on in the film industry with streaming and all that. They don't want to support thousands, millions of dollars into just some guys who created something making fun of video games. It's a weird area that we're in right now. And back in the day, it was what the TV channels around what do they call that?
Cable.
Yeah, but like the channels that were like the township channels,
satellite.
Yeah, whatever township channels that you just went in, you paid $25, you made your 30 minutes of content. Public access channel.
Yeah.
You went in, you made your stuff, and you'd leave. Now everything is monetization. Everything, like if I'm taking photos for something out now, I'm like, oh, which one of my YouTube accounts should I post that to try to get views from it? And like my partner will be like, can't you just, enjoy going pumpkin picking? I'm like,
and it's the same thing when you're taking pictures of your kids now, or even your pets. I mean, pet accounts are huge. Yeah. It's like you can't, if people start following you and you get a big enough following, you will start to make money, even if that's not your intent.
Right.
If you like go for it and you make a lot of posts and you become popular, probably a company will approach you to see if you want to do a sponsored post, or you'll just, or like I think, some of these sites, you'll just have ad revenue that you'll start generating. So you almost can't help but start doing it, which does complicate the having your kids on there.
Now, how often you have an Instagram where you mainly post pictures of your cats and stuff, and I
that's true.
Post stuff about like my dog and stuff, never with the intent of like my personal Instagram is just for like me. It's just, oh, I'm out doing something stupid. Oh, here's a picture of my dog. How often do you get those stupid spam things where it's like, hey, you took a picture of your cat, send us your picture of your cat and we'll make money through it.
I've never gotten that ever.
Really? Every time I post a picture of our dog, I get
like a comment.
It's a comment being like, hit us up in our DMs and we'll send you da-da-da. I'm like, it's clearly fake.
I also am I post one picture like every 3 weeks, and
Right.
I think my account is set to private. Like I don't,
Yeah.
I'm not doing, like, you do have to, I said before, you almost can't help but start to make money, but you do have to put a little effort in. Like you do have to kind of,
Right.
the hashtags. I almost actively just don't try not to do any of that stuff because it's just, I find it so dehumanizing.
Right.
I like don't want to do it because I could be like, I could get on TikTok and make videos of my cats and try to come up with a catchy name and do funny cat videos all the time, and people might be into it. But it's like, do I really want to monetize my fun? Because I always think about not having kids. This is the avenue that I can get into. I always think about how weird it is when someone has a popular pet account, and then like sometimes the pet dies, and you see the sad videos where they have to talk about their pet dying, and it's like, do you now, like, what if that's your career?
Right.
Do you now have to get a new pet? And it's like, doesn't that feel kind of gross that now you're like
grumpy cat, and like,
this has to be my, I gotta try to monetize this now because it's my job, but it's also like a living thing that I'm supposed to love. That's a weird area that I don't like.
And like, you can't also privately grieve. Now you have to make your grieving thing an apology video and go out there and be like, we tried our best. We, where you could like, oh, my cat died. Like, I'm sad. Like, and at what point are you just getting a cat or a dog or even a child just to make the content?
Yes. Are you going to start like, oh no, this kid's getting too old. Like, we got to have another one, honey, because I need another 6 years of people. Right. The cute ones are the ones that really make the money.
Now, and I understand where Connor is coming from, because Zoe wants to, make her channel grow more by bringing her 4-year-old, 7-year-old, and 13-year-old.
Make my channel grow. But that was just for Will, who's watching.
But that 13-year-old is already having issues in school with social media. Kids in school. There's a great movie by Bo Burnham, I think, directed it. 8th grade.
Words. Oh, 8th grade.
8th grade. Where it's like, there's a couple years old, so it's like, some of the technology is still dated, but there's issues that these kids are going through because there's cameras in their life all the time. They're just living their daily life. Why make your child's life worse? Even though you might not be, Zoe might not be thinking that this is making the child's life worse, or we're going to have a meeting about it. The 13-year-old goes to school and they're like, oh, we saw your mom's stupid TikTok dance video and we're going to make fun of you or bully you or,
I agree with you. I also do think we should insert into the conversation, though, the possibility that we are boomers, and it's like, does social media cause issues? A lot of the times, I think definitely. But is there also like, were parents saying the same thing about television and comic books 50 years ago too?
Well, but there's a difference though, because by watching TV, playing video games, reading comic books, we weren't putting our faces on the internet for thousands to judge.
It wasn't as accessible. Yeah, it was not nearly as ubiquitous in daily life. That's certainly true. But I do wonder, like, you either hit a point where, and this is a point that we may not know which one we're going to hit until like another 50 years or something, where it just becomes daily life and it isn't an issue anymore, or it's so deeply embedded that the issues don't matter because they're everybody's issues and we're all just fucked in different ways. I don't know. It's just hard to predict sometimes with technology. Personally, right now, I agree with you though that, yeah, there's some social mental health issues that can be caused by constantly putting yourself out there. The kids might not feel that way though. Like, I don't know. These kids might love being in these videos and think it's fun.
Well, now, until they do something stupid and you're on the internet forever. And that, you're right. That sounds like the biggest boomer thing I could say, but but going back to your point of like, video games, comics, whatever, I don't care if a kid is on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, scrolling forever. But the second you start putting your face out there, it's a different thing because you're getting judgment that's more than just, your friend group or your school. If you're getting judged or made fun of at your school, not great, but it's usually a couple hundred kids. The second your
Yeah.
parent, yourself, or whoever puts you on Instagram, and if a video gets seen, you're getting blown up by a million people are seeing it.
I'll tell you the ones that I really don't like
Mhm.
are, have you seen like the singing families?
Yes.
I know there's a few of these. There's one in particular. I don't give a fuck. I think they're called the Holderness family or something like that.
Oh yeah, call them out, whatever.
And they're just like, I mean, they're like the biggest, most popular one. And they
Right.
do like song parodies, and there's like 5 or 6 of just the whitest people you've ever seen.
Right.
And there's like, it's like the perfect Brady Bunch family of
Yeah.
the equal genders and age ranges and everything. And it's just, to me, the most embarrassing, like overacted, cringy white mom and dad singing stupid corny songs, and the
Right.
kids doing the very theater kid kind of like, hi everybody, like, look how happy I am, I love being in the video. And you're like, oh, it's just,
and it boils down to like dance moms and that kind of stuff of our generation, and now too,
kids.
pageant parents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like,
it's a little gross.
It's a little gross, a little creepy. But it depends on what you're doing. If it's like, oh, I'm shooting a video of our family at game night, just doing whatever, that's a little different because you're sharing it, not necessarily doing anything. But what Zoe sounds like she's trying to do is make scripted or semi-scripted content, or even vlogs, if that's even a terminology anymore, where it's like things are planned out. She has to have, okay, I have to have a video with my 13-year-old doing this on Tuesday, then my 7-year-old, people in the comments. It's the second that people know your kids by name in the comments that it becomes a problem. Because like, oh, I see, 13-year-old isn't on the videos anymore. What happened? And then people start to be internet creeps and track down this person on any social media and go after them. Stuff like that happens.
Yeah, or even if they don't, it's still going back to what we were saying earlier. Like, these kids will grow up in a way that, it changes your perception of reality. If you think if your reality is that you're online, and that before you're even old enough to do anything,
Right.
you like are famous in a way. Even if it's just even if you're not a huge account, even if it's like a few thousand people, however much it takes to, for these people to make money now,
Right.
like, that's still weird. That's still going to change how you go about your life and the way your brain works if you live in that world.
And
so
it's also
it sounds
going to
like
make you, like, when you're walking down the street, you're going to be like, oh, you won't be able to live your life as a high school student, a middle school student, because you'll be like, oh, I'm going to prom, have to make this content, going to this, mom wants me to do this, so I have to do, like, that necessarily might not happen. She could be a great mother, she could be like not doing it, but there is that issue.
So for you, if you had children, it's is there an age you would say you either cut off or start feeling like it's okay to post pictures or videos of them on social media? Would you never do it? What's your policy?
I feel like I would post them on like my Facebook, because my Facebook isn't where my followers in air
your
quotes.
brand.
It's not my brand. It's like I'm friends with my family members. It's a private account. I wouldn't ever do it like on my quote unquote work social medias or anything like that, unless it was like, hey, the 3 of us are out at a picnic or something. It's rare that I even post my partner on any of my social medias, because like he has said to me before, he's like, that's not my thing. I'll drag him into a Snack Guy video and make him, drink the Grimace shake, because I'm like, listen, you want me to go buy you this milkshake? It's going to be on content.
And he is 18, or?
We can strike that from the record. Strike that from the record, please. Can you strike?
Okay.
He was born in the 18s. 1918 he was born. It's very old.
Oh, okay.
Very old.
Got it.
So like, so it's like that kind of stuff I'm like, I think about. Like, sure, my dog or whatever, But like, I don't know what age, like, you can no longer give consent for your children anymore. That might just literally be 18. I don't know. But, at that point, when it's no longer an open, like, ask your kid, hey, you cool if I post this picture? there is a 50-50 to it. Because, like, if I'm at a family gathering and I take a picture of the family or my child doing, at Thanksgiving with grandpa or whatever,
Right.
I'm going to post that on there, like it or not. But there was, to an extent. But, like, there are times where it's like, there's, I forgot the news story, but there was a kid who was suing his parents because he's like, I don't want my photos on your social media. These people weren't making money. It was just like grandma posting pictures of them dyeing Easter eggs or something stupid. And the kid's like, I didn't consent to this. And it's like, you don't really have consent. You're like, I'm posting a family photo, and there's issues like that.
It's a weird one because it's not like, I don't know. It's like the internet is still fairly new.
It is, but I think, anytime you're making money off of it, that's the issue.
Right. I think that's probably a decent place to draw the line. Yeah, it's tricky. There's a lot of complicated things going into this. I think I don't think that every parent who posts pictures of their kids on social media is necessarily doing something that's bad or wrong.
Right.
I also think that in a lot of cases, if not most cases, it's probably, I feel, better to just not put them up there at all or put them up there sparingly. And maybe in my head, I'm like, maybe you cut it, like maybe once they get to a certain age, like after 6 or something, you stop. Like maybe if they're really young, it's almost okay because it's like, they're not even a human being. Yeah. It's just like, here's my child. It's cute. But like once they start getting, like old enough that they're like a recognizable human being with opinions.
Well, so what age are they a human? At what stage of life?
I would say you're not a human being until like you're 15.
Right.
Everything up until then.
Until 15, it can be just,
fine. Just chop their head off. No big deal. Or the other way around, like, and like once they hit high school, that's when you can start being like, okay, do you want to be on social media again? It's like the in between years where you don't show them anywhere. I don't know. Like this is
but that's difficult too because like
subjective.
Because you have kids who are like, Mom, don't put me anywhere. You're being weird. But it's like, back in the day, it was like, your parents would have your photo on their desk. And it's like...
Sure, but we didn't have to deal with this. Like, photo on your desk is very different from photo up on Facebook.
But if you think of the average parent on Facebook, not social media people, not influencers, just an average person who had a baby, they post pictures on... Less than 100 people are seeing that. That is literally just so grandma in Arizona can see it, a family friend somewhere can see it. So like that, I feel like you don't have to worry about consenting the kid. Maybe just don't tag them. Don't do whatever. But
I agree. But I also am like, I get it if a kid is just like, you should also listen to your kid and respect if they don't want to be on your Facebook page. I think.
Now, would that be the same thing? Like if they don't want to be on your Facebook, but if like, we took a family Christmas photo and we're sending it to 100 people. How do you feel about that? I mean, I'm not like, I don't think honestly, this situation ever comes up. This hypothetical, I don't think it's ever been addressed in real life, but you mean for you or for like in general?
I don't like, has any kid ever been like, don't put me in that holiday card? I don't think it's.
I'm
really
sure it
ever
has
happened.
Come up, but
not in a serious way. I doubt.
No.
But yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know. Again, I also didn't grow up as. We weren't really a holiday card family. This isn't.
No, but that was an example. But like, I'm sure your mom had a photo, your school photo that she showed people or whatever. Well, maybe not.
But I would like to think like, yeah, she was. Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with being a parent and wanting to do that. But I'd like to think that if your kid has a real serious, like, there could be a real. Right. Like a mental health thing where they don't like their photo being out there. And if that's the case, then, and if of a certain age, if they're like high school or older, say like if they're just a little kid and maybe they don't know what the hell they don't even know.
Because you do have to take into account, like, okay, are they being just an angsty teen who is going like, just,
but even if they are
on their parents,
maybe let them be an angsty teen and just go with like, what's the harm? Like, is it so horrible that you can't send a picture of your kid? I don't know.
Well, it depends. I would say it depends on each situation, but like at some point you have to be like, shut up, I'm doing this. Like if you're sending it to family, But
yeah, I get. Yeah, I don't know. It's such a specific. There's so many factors that
like
depends
the
on.
audience doesn't know. I have 13 children,
You
but
do.
I am
You have a lot of
so good
children.
that they're all behind this wall.
It's because you're Irish Catholic.
Right. That's how I keep the
have
lights running. They pedal the bikes. They keep the lights going. It's great. It's free energy. It's green. It's green energy.
St.
So,
Patrick's Day coming up.
So yeah, it is so weird because the ages are spread out, because these are 13 is like the age where it's like your parents are still, I mean, your parents still control you up until 18 legally, but like, 13 is where it's like you start having a brain of your own. Like it's the pubescent years, it's all that kind of stuff. So it's like you're getting into being a young adult, a YA book reader. You're you're going into having your own thoughts and stuff. So it is weird. So it's like, I'm ready for my verdict if you are.
Oh wow, you're ready for your verdict.
Because I don't want to keep, because if I keep talking, I'm just going to say my verdict. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just think this is a very complex issue that in some ways goes beyond the realm of this specific case.
I guess there's one thing we didn't really talk about.
Yeah.
There's two parents in this picture. Two, and usually, at some point there's two people to make a child, and there's two consenting adults ruling over these three children. Like, at what point do you have to literally co-parent and listen to one of your significant others? And it's like, if Connor's saying like, hey, this might be problematic for our children and potentially dangerous, does one trump the other?
Yeah. Well, marriage is about compromise.
It's true.
For instance, you have to be married to each other. Nobody really wants that.
You have to?
It's a compromise. Yeah. All right. You know what? Never mind. Just say your verdict.
So Connor is the one who
Connor's on trial for, yes. Is he guilty or not guilty for objecting to his kids being on the talks?
This is super easy for me because, this isn't just a parent being like, hey, I'm posting our family photos. I'm posting our vacation photos. This mother, Zoe, is using her children to make money. And there's, like I said before, there's no unions, there's no rules, there's no safety guidelines for this. She couldn't be, there's child labor laws when it's your own children. Those kind of are blurred, but there are labor laws that, like, these kids are technically working at the ages of 13, 7, and 4 by providing money for this family. So I do see the issues that Connor has going into it, because, at what point are they no longer being children anymore? Even though, hey, it could just be footage of them playing and being kids. There's still always going to be something going on. And I don't think Connor is guilty at all of having potential negative thoughts about this and putting his, quote unquote, putting his foot down and saying, I'm not letting my children, our children, the children, go on to your videos to make the money, the family money. So I would say Connor, the family money. So I say Connor is not guilty.
I do declare.
Connor is not guilty.
I think the position that I want to put out there is that I don't necessarily think that Zoe is a bad person. And
right.
I mean, nobody, I know you aren't saying that, but I just, like, I'm not
a little bit.
I don't think that, I think there are some influencers, family influencers out there who are genuinely mistreating or borderline abusing their kids. Right. And it sounds like Zoe, at least, the fact that she was willing to say, hey, we'll talk about we can sit down as a family, and she'll sit down with Connor and we'll okay or not okay every video together. She's willing to, like, hash it out and talk about it and discuss it. I think that's worth noting, and that's she deserves credit for that. And, like, right. I think it's possible to do this kind of thing. There's a compromise here where you can include your kids in this kind of an account and have it not be abusive or ugly in any way.
For sure.
it's a fine line, and it's subjective as to where is that line. When do you cross that? And it's also arguable that once you start, it might be harder and harder to know when to stop pushing that line. So I don't begrudge either of them too much. I think I'm in your camp, siding a little more with Connor, that it's because it's like a tricky area and because there's all these potential traps you can fall into, that probably the best practice is just not to do it at all. I do think there's middle grounds. I think maybe you start with the 13-year-old and just say, I think 13 is old enough for you to ask them, do you want to be in these videos?
Right.
How many would you like to be in? What kinds of things would you like to be in? Is that okay? 4 and 7 is probably too young, and I would say just leave them out of it. So I think there's shades of gray, and people will disagree or agree with different aspects of it. But ultimately, I agree that Connor is right to have some objections to this, which is why I have no objection, and he's not guilty, in my opinion.
Now, at what point do you think it's the responsibility of the network, be it Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, any of these media networks, which is what they are at this point, to be like, hey, how old is the kid in that content?
Yeah.
Are they, but also at the same time, like, we, to make content, we don't have to fill out a W-2 or like, none of this is like tracked. I mean, it's tracked by people, but it's not, it's such a weird, Wild West area still.
Yeah.
The content creation world, because like, yeah, we could potentially get paid for it, make millions of dollars on it. But also, like, we don't know if Zoe's channel has like 3 people or 3,000 people. Like, we don't know what's going on.
They said it was enough to, like, it makes them money now. Like, it's a decent source of part of their income, I think. So it's like sizable.
Okay.
Yeah, that I am not educated or informed enough to have a good opinion on that aspect of it. Like, I part of me thinks, oh, it's like too much to expect the platform to be monitoring all of these accounts, but I also don't want to like let them off the hook for profiting off of that shit either. So it's all, I don't know. To me, it's like, I don't know.
And I was thinking too, like, they took the time, they put all this work in to make this video, and it's like, are we going to sit around the table and watch every video and get approval for each child? At one point, it's like, because a 13-year-old, let's just say, me as a 13-year-old, my mood changed all the time. It would be like, yeah, cool, I'll be in the video. I don't want to be in that stupid video the next day. At what point is it like you have to like get them to sign a contract every day to be in a video? You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's messy. It's a weird, messy thing.
That's why, like,
probably
I don't
just
think
shouldn't do it.
You shouldn't bring your family into it. Like, husband, fine, because they can consent, or like 18-year-old and stuff like that. But it's like, it's a weird thing.
I also, like, I get it. Like, I understand the temptation. If you're the mom running this account and you're like, this account, we could literally like double the amount of money we get or something, or triple it, or like, I mean, it sucks that it's the way our society is, and that's how you get money. But it's like, I don't blame her for thinking about
100%.
it. That's why I'm saying I think there's a way to do it tastefully and sparingly and not focus on that. But it's it's tricky.
That's also why starting next week we are introducing a third cast member to Geeks on Trial. It is our collective son that we're going to have on. It's the bailiff.
Whose sperm are we going to use for that?
Collective.
Okay, we don't know. It's like, or it's like a genetically engineered test tube monster.
Are you new to
is that adopting? Offensive? Yeah, but you don't. It's only one person's sperm I'm thinking of like a surrogate or something.
Oh,
like that.
No, I'm just thinking we're just going to get a child.
Oh, you're just going to grab a kid off the street.
Yeah, it's going to be legal. It's fine, but it's going to bring in the money.
Do they? I feel like I don't know for sure, but I feel like it might be difficult to adopt a baby as a just podcast co-hosts, not a parenting couple or anything like that. I just feel like the people who handle the adoption agencies, it might be tricky to get them to agree with this, but I don't know.
We don't know.
We'll see.
Who knows?
We'll see. Now we do have to punish Zoe, I guess. We do have to sentence her to something. So maybe she has to be forced to dress up like a baby And for 1 month, she's in a different family's TikTok videos, and she has to pretend to be a baby and do whatever they say. Wear a
She'll
diaper.
get more views, but it's going to be from the wrong people.
Yeah, it's going to be really fucked up.
My punishment is she can't use any hashtags. No more hashtags for a year.
Oh, wow. That's rough. Hashtag deprivation.
Yep.
Boy, oh boy. Well, we'd like to hear our audience's thoughts on this case. What's your verdict? How would you sentence these fine folks, or do you agree with our verdict? You can let us know. Email us, geeksontrial@gmail.com, or if you're watching us on YouTube, you can leave a comment. If you're listening on the podcast, send us an email. And you can also submit your own geeky case if it's about technology, social media, smartphones, laptops, gaming devices, any kind of geeky subculture, whatever it is. We will judge your case here on the show. You can use a form in our episode description. Fill that form right out. Pop that over to us. We'll give you a verdict. Toot sweet.
Toots, I haven't heard that one in a long time. That's a good one. And also, if you want to give us some of your hard-earned money, you can help us over at patreon.com/geeksontrial. You get early episodes, and you get our new show, Sidebar. Comes out every other week, twice a month, all that kind of stuff. It's where we talk about other weird things that are in our brains.
Yeah, we judge each other.
We judge each other quite heavily. And when you're not judging people, where can people find you on the internets?
Check me out at my personal website, jonathanestes.com. That's my name, first and last, in that order, with a .com afterwards. And that's where you'll find all my stuff: YouTube videos, podcasts. It's a lot of very much fun. How about you?
A lot of very much fun. You can find me over at ivanhan.com or youtube.com/thesnackguy. That's where you can get all of my fun prune videos. That's all I'm doing from now on. It's just videos about prunes. Pruning, eating prunes. Sometimes I'll throw a plum in there, but that's youtube.com/thesnackguy.
Did you hear about the dried fruit 9/11 joke?
No.
It was too prune. That was right off the top of my head. I just came up with that. What do you think? He's laughing. He's laughing, folks. It was off mic, so you couldn't hear it, but he was laughing.
Thanks so much for watching. I'm Ivan Hahn.
Oh, I'm Jonathan Estes, and this has been Geeks on Trial. Case closed.